So let's make a formal introduction for our listener. Good afternoon, Jay Peter. My name is Claudio, and I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the studios in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Peter accepted our invitation to our show. Hey, Peter, welcome to the show, man.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing very well. So let's go for what's going on in the world with the pandemic and the COVID. And some people want to take the vaccine, some people don't believe on it. Some countries are behind. You know, the COVID has affected everybody's life, right? So how the stuff has affected your life, your personal life, your inability to do gigs, to tour. You're at home. Feel free to
Yeah,
elaborate on the question.
I must say, fortunately, my life doesn't, my income as a composer or musician doesn't come from live concerts so many. So I do a few concerts, and I only do them if the musicians get paid well and if this is a good, if it is a good location. So I don't depend so much on concerts, fortunately. Last year and this year I spent most of the time in the studio and producing one record after the other at the moment. In Germany, we also had every artist gets funding for projects. So we many of the creative musicians, composers didn't lose so many of money as opposed to other countries, obviously. So we are kind of in an okay situation here. And but what it makes to every single person, the whole COVID issue, that's another story, because I have lots of kids and I had to learn things they learn in the school, So I really had to change my lifestyle and take care of the kids a couple of days more a week. But I liked it as well, So for me, the change wasn't so surprising because as an artist, your life's always like this, things changing, a record company comes up and wants your music, another record company goes, and it's always a big change in this art and music world. It doesn't depend so much on COVID, that's my personal experience. It's different for live musicians, because they just didn't get any concerts, but the government put out a couple of billions to support the musicians,
I got you. That's great. And
Yeah.
let's go back to the beginning. Where were you born? Were you born in a musical family? When did you start taking, piano lesson or listening to music? How was your upbringing?
My background with music is very small because nobody played an instrument, but my mother wanted to start making music or arts, but nobody did this before in the family. So she bought a piano and I wanted to play drums. So I started with drums and the piano and the guitar and everything a little, but I didn't so from the beginning, I started making music and composing and putting sounds together. And it was really since I'm 13, I think, in the 80s, in the middle of the 80s, I started making electronic music with what I had, 2 tape recorders where I could record sounds from the other recorder and make a stereo signal from it, and 1 synthesizer. And late 80s, I bought a sampler, so that's how it built up the whole thing. But everything happened in Frankfurt, and Frankfurt was very focused on techno music, and that wasn't I wasn't. So there was no big scene in Frankfurt with musicians who do the similar music than I do.
So when you were in the equivalent of high school here, the gymnasium in Germany, what kind of music were you listening when you were, I don't know, 14, 15, 16 years old? What kind of stuff?
Sorry, I forgot his name, but it's the drummer. What is
So which band? I may know.
No, it was Billy Cobham.
Oh, yeah.
Cobham, the drummer, and,
yeah.
and a friend of mine gave me all this music on tape, and I was listening to radio stations. So classical music was interesting for me. My parents listened to classical music. My mom is a big Johann Sebastian Bach fan, and this was inspiring for me. But it started really step by step. So I didn't study it for 5 years. I went to a music school for 4 years as a drummer, but I just didn't want to just play the drum my whole life. So I really just listen to music and try to learn by myself most of the stuff.
You knew, for example, who Tangerine Dream was at the time, or was?
No, Tangerine Dream not. I don't know why, but just didn't occur that I really, that somebody played me Tangerine Dream. I heard about them in the 90s,
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of music that I missed, and somehow, for example, Radiohead, I listened to Radiohead the first time when I met Brian Eno, and he told me about Radiohead. So the thing is that I don't listen to music so much. I prefer to create music. And when I come out of the studio, I don't listen to music.
Really?
So at home, never, really never, and I miss so many good things. Because my brain is still working on these ideas. Even when I come back home, my daughter wants to listen to music, and then I show her some stuff, and she likes to sing. She's 5 years old, and yeah, I prefer to sit in my studio and listen to the ideas in my head. That's because I have so many. Sounds a bit silly maybe, but I have so many ideas that I want to turn into music. It's not always musical ideas. It's sometimes my music. With my music, I want to reflect situations or issues, like with my last record, Neuzeit. What happens if a whole system crashes and then it restarts? This kind of what happens to every single person. Is if we have downs and ups and downs and ups, and I find this interesting, and then I get ideas, I get melodies, I get a rhythm when I think about these things. So it's quite personal, political, but without words, which is the next step, by the way. My next record will have words and singers.
Yeah, and then you start, so you see what's going on in the world with political issues, pandemic issue, whatever, and then you kind of write it down. Man, I have an idea about earthquake, or you, in your head, when you're thinking about an earthquake, for example, you begin playing piano and putting different pieces together without knowing where you're going, and then a couple of weeks you say, this could work for this could work for that.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. So sometimes you fishing in the water, you know, you try things out and you try to find out if this music example is good enough for this idea, you know. So at the end I have 30 pieces of music, but only 8 survive this project. And yeah, it's not that I want to tell people, look, listen to what my music is telling you, political or something. It's more a drive for me, you know. It's so I have good starting point. Thinking of a situation gives me, it's like with music for films, you know, it's the same thing in a way. You develop something that is driven by a story somehow.
And then the end the music, you say I would compose 30 and I end up using 8. The other 22 you leave it in the background for another project down the road, right? You don't delete the stuff, right? I suppose that you can recycle the stuff that you did maybe 5 years ago that you never use it, you never release it, into something a different project or similar project or
Yes,
different arrangement. Yeah.
Yes, that's sometimes the case. I prefer to create music, new music always, but sometimes you listen to a piece that's 5 years old and think, well, that's exactly what I'm trying at the moment to do, you know. And yeah, it's really, sometimes it fits and sometimes it doesn't. But for the last record, for example, everything was really composed in, I would say, three months, and then produced. And then I invited Ave Henriksen, the trumpet player, and so this was one corner where I stood for a couple of months, you know.
Usually, how long does it take, like on average, end to end, right, for an idea until you have the CD or the upload the band, whatever the is? Like a year?
Yeah, it's more a year than less. It's always some people say, oh, when you spend too much time, the music gets worse. That's not in my case. I don't feel it like that. I really always have the feeling it's not finished yet, and there's something still missing. And when I listen back to my music, like the last 2-3 records, I wouldn't change a thing. But it took a long time to get to this point where I say, this is finished now. And so I'm quite, because I'm arranging a lot as well for other people. It's not always about the composing. It's about building up a piece, going down and getting to a higher point. And this takes 7-8 minutes. And the arrangement takes more time than composing the music. No. And
because I assume that things, you know, you guys cannot see one another from the other people that contribute. You need to send stuff to them, they need to send stuff to you, need to rearrange, meet, change, go back, change, go back, or I need another guitar here or a trumpet or somebody from Norway worked before, and so it's your portion may be ready, but you need other people ideas to make it cohesive and
yes, it's not many musicians are so. I mean, for example, Ivan Arset from Norway. He's really, for me. So when I almost finish a piece of music, then I think now I need someone who's flying on top over the piece of music and he's doing his stuff as a soloist and as well as a sound designer. You know, he's both. He's a great guitar player and a sound designer, and we worked together since 2005, I think. So for 15 years, we had concerts, and so when I ask him to do something, I don't tell him, "Oh, I wish you could do this now or this now." I just send him the music, and he's sending me 7, 8 tracks with ideas back, and then I'm allowed to edit it and or delete things or double it, and that's such a great fun. That's the surprising moment for me then in the studio, when people send me their ideas after I almost finished a piece of music, and then gets a new dynamic, you know,
a new perspective, right? That you can say, man, I cannot use that, but maybe I can use that whatever, you know, to a
yes,
different project, and you say, man, that's a great idea, you know. So you
yes,
never kind of, you don't tell people, you send your stuff, and it's up to the other person to listen to your stuff and say, oh, I think for this, for the track one, we can use this. For track two, we and then it go back and forth, and that,
yes,
that's yeah, because now you guys can, you know, cannot see one another, obviously with the pandemic.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the only way to work, I suppose, right?
Yes, but I must say it was like this before already. You know, I didn't travel to Norway, for example, to record Ivan. You know, I did this once, but it was 2010, so 11 years ago. And then we met at the Punkt Festival, but we didn't work together. We just talked about projects or music, and so this started before the pandemic, you know.
I got you. So, all right. So early in your career, you founded I think it's called the label Poet Club Record, right? And then that's the first time you uh, began shortly after collaborating with Brian Eno, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Feel free to elaborate. All my questions are open-ended. You know, for me, Jan, my interviews are different in the sense that I want to get to know the person behind the music, right? So we can go over all the records and say this record is great, this record is terrible, whatever. But for me, it's important to, you know,
Yes.
get to know the human being behind the instrument or the keyboard or the band. So
Yes.
how
Yes.
was so you put the record? What kind of music was at the record label, and then how Brian Eno ended up, you know, contacting you and began working together?
Yes. Yes. That's it was a very surprising moment, because I started, I made my own record label
Mhm.
with an investor, and I had people working for that label. This was 1998, I think I started the label. And because some guy from Frankfurt, Peter Kuhlmann is his name, he had a label called Fax, like the fax machine. And unfortunately, he died a couple of years ago, very young, but he was very important for the Frankfurt electronic music scene. And anyway, he told me, if you make music that nobody will release because it's not in one how we say in one direction, you know, jazz, electronic, or this and that, then make your own label. You know, that's how it started. And 3 months later, after my first release, I got this message from Brian Eno, and he would be interested to work with me. And that was this just happened because I have produced a CD of my own music, and I started doing this label. So if I wouldn't have done this, things would have been different probably. I don't know, you know. And so and it was a great time. So we were working until for my feeling, I would say we met like once a month for a couple of days, and did jam sessions, talks, sometimes we were just eating, drinking. We did concerts together, and was a very exciting time. Was really, and for me it was like from 0 to 100, you know, within 4 months in a way, you know. So for me it was, everything was new, and I was very young. I was 27, I think, when I met him, and he was 50 or 51. So it was very exciting, I must say. Yeah. And I'm happy that we became real friends, you know. And so it didn't, because he's a really funny guy, and
Yeah, I love his music, and I have a lot of CDs from him and vinyl too. And I never have the opportunity to see him. Actually, never met him, and playing and seeing him live, you know. But I love his music. He's very good, man.
yeah, he's. I mean, he invented a whole genre, you know.
Of course, yeah.
And this is, it's history, and he's still doing great stuff. So he's just, yeah, amazing, you know. And I said, for me, it's always good in a working relationship that you like each other, you know.
Yeah.
It's no stress, and that, you know, you can spend a day together to do something privately if the time in the studio is not so productive, you know. So that's very important, you know. So I can't work with people that I don't like, in a way, you know. It's not
Wouldn't
just
work, right? Yeah.
it's one of my idols, you know, like Miles Davis. He must have been a horrible guy, you know, when you read this, you know, very eccentric, very narcissistic. And if I would have the chance to make music with Miles Davis, you know, probably I wouldn't enjoy it. I don't know what I mean. So it's two things coming together: the private and the professional parts. They meld into one thing, and then it's good time. Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise it will be very difficult to do. Yeah, hopefully I will have the opportunity to interview Brian here one day from the radio. I would love to do that. And
yes,
you know,
I don't know how he decides about this, and but I can I can give you the manager's
yeah, we
number.
can, especially
Then,
for this is my interview number 79, I think, or 78, 79. And then for interview number 100, I want to do something special.
Okay.
You know, like a Brian Eno type of guy, or Jean-Michel Jarre, or you know, or or David Sylvian, or whatever, a big name. And your music reminds me a lot of a musician that I like a lot, Ryuichi Sakamoto from Japan. I don't know if you know him, but have you ever worked with him or could?
He used a part of a record that I did, and they asked if they can use this for a soundtrack he made. I don't know if I have this here. It was 2004, I think, and but we never met. So really? It was just that he used some sounds for his film music, and yeah, and some got some publishing for it. Was very fair deal what they did, and his management, really nice people. But in the 2000s, what I liked was this project with this guy from Berlin. What's his name? I forgot. They do concerts. Sakamoto and him, and they did a lot of concerts and CDs in the 2000s, and this music I like very much. And it was inspiring as well, but it happened at the same time. So I don't know his music before 2000, for example. You know, it's kind of
I'm a big fan of David Sylvian, right? In the UK, and the two of them, Sakamoto and Sylvian, have contributed and played from Japan and all the other, all for many years now. And then I have great admiration for Sakamoto. So when I was listening to your stuff last night, I was preparing to the interview. I remember a lot of Sakamoto. It's very different music. I like it for, as I said before, I like some stuff or I don't, right? So I don't know. For plus, your music remind me a lot of like going deep psychologically within yourself, right? Or the end of the world, if you will, in many ways. It brings different memories to me as opposed to listen when I listen to
Yeah.
Tangerine Dream, for example. It's very different, right? Or Brian
Yeah.
Eno
Okay.
stuff. It brings a lot of different emotion within you because I I need to listen. I really need to listen to it. I put my headphone, expensive headphone, and the stereo, and I really want to see what the musician was thinking or expressing to me when I'm listening to stuff.
Yes. Yes.
Beautiful, it's a beautiful thing. And uh,
Mhm.
and uh, and then after that, you were involved in the Artists Against AIDS Worldwide, right? I think
Sorry.
you were after early in your career. Also, you were involved with the Artists Against AIDS
Ah.
Worldwide, right?
Okay.
Right?
Uh, yes, but just was one track. Yeah, we
That's right.
did,
Yeah.
we it was with Bono and part of U2 and I think it's Metropolitan Studio. It's a really big studio in London,
London.
and Brian was asked to mix it and produce it,
Wow. Yeah.
and then he said, "Would you join me with some ideas?" And so I came to this studio uh, and then he said, I need to pick up my kids. Can you take over?" And he went. And it was good. I think he did this on purpose, just to give me this project in a way. There was a sound technique. Everything was already recorded. It was more about editing and playing some extra percussion and stuff. And but it was it was an interesting project. But I was in the supermarket once, and they played this version in Spain, I think, when I lived in Barcelona.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe he did it on purpose. In a way, the only way to I'm an engineer, right? So I nothing to do with music. I just so happen to like music a lot. The only way sometime in life is to evolve is someone put you in a situation, in here, United States would say, run with it, give me ideas, you are the in charge now for a day or an hour,
Yeah.
and then you say, what the heck, what I'm doing here? Well,
Well, I like doing this last phase, and with the record we did, Drawn from Life, I did all the editing. I made the decisions about what material will be used and how long, and what tracks will end up on the records. So I kind of produced it, and it was fun, I must say, because he really let me take over in a way, and finish it.
gotcha. How you end up meeting Ivan Arsenet? He's going to be in the show in a couple of days from now, in a week, this weekend, I think.
Okay.
How you end up working with him? It's a lot of great music coming out of Norway, actually.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so happy that I was invited for a project, and somebody invited me to go to Norwegian music festival called Punkt Festival. It's called Punkt Festival, and this is where I met him the first time. And we did a preparation for one piece of music of mine for this festival, and that's how our working relationship started. And so whenever I did something, I invited him to take over the guitar part, and we played in Naples. We played in many. We did a couple of concerts, and yes, he's just amazing. That's the thing that I can say. He's really, that's how we met. Yeah.
Got you. And then after that, you end up, I think in 2016, you did release your first Rare Noise album, right? The Beauty of Disaster.
Yes.
And I really like that album, to tell you the truth, man. And
Thanks.
feel free to elaborate how that album came together and the idea. I know the idea behind, but the audience, the listener may not know. So feel free to
Yeah,
elaborate how that came together.
yeah. This I haven't done any releases in the years before, because I was doing music for movies, for little movies, and for ballet, and for theater. And when somebody said, "Oh, go to Rare Noise Records, they might be interested in your music." So I sent it to Giacomo also, and I'm very happy. That was the first label I approached, and they immediately wanted to release it, and it was for me a good start back into releasing music on records.
Yeah.
Because as I said, you can release your music digitally, but you don't have any promotion. So, and promotion costs money. So where's the money coming from? So businessman and a guy who is really into music. So Giacomo Fruzzo is really, he loves music, and he's really passionate about it. And so for me, because Rare Noise is a good name for a record label, I think, it's because I felt automatically like, yeah, my music is Rare Noise as well, so was the label that I first approached, and I'm still there, and think we're doing much more together. Yeah.
Do you prefer, as an artist, you prefer to kind of, on one hand, if you do self-release, right, you need to put all the money up front, you don't have any advertising, and you make more money. On the other hand, right, if you go to a record label, they do everything for you, but they take a bigger cut of the profit and so forth. What is a good trade-off to do, either self-release or go to a record label?
Well, the best deal is when the record company takes care of everything as a first step, and pays for everything, and gives a little advance money for everything, and then they sell it. They sell, and then to the point where they recouped the money,
the investment, right?
Yes, then we make 50-50.
Oh,
so
I see. Yeah.
That's it's the best contract you can have, actually. So, and they take all the risks. They have two promoters, one for America, one for Europe, and that costs money. It's
absolutely, yeah.
It's amazing how that this is still working. And
yeah.
Yes.
And then when you do that path, they, even in Bandcamp, right? When somebody go to Bandcamp and buy something, a digital or a CD or a vinyl, they send the stuff. You don't send it for your home, right? Yeah, they do the shipping, and right.
Yes, exactly. Rare Noise takes care of my page as well.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good that people can.
Yes, I did all this business stuff with my own label, but I had this label just for only 3 or 4 years, and I realized that I'm on the phone for 4 days a week, and then I have 3 days where I make music. And then I thought, no, that wasn't the idea. I want to make music, and I'm definitely not a good businessman, and I'm absolutely not interested in business. You know, I just want to make my music, or other projects. You know, like radio plays. I do a lot here in Frankfurt, which is fun. So my next radio play will deal with the issue of numbers, and the title is "Numbers Become Stories." And I already used this title for one piece on the beauty of disaster, but I still want to make a whole radio play about this issue, that numbers become stories. So we see with the COVID, we see all these numbers, but we don't know the stories behind the numbers. So and I want to put this into music and words, and I don't know how yet.
Because you're thinking of,
yeah, exactly. But this is fun for me. This kind of work I really like, but I don't want to. But there is. It can be full of kitsch, you know, if I don't make it right. You know, if I tell about families, unhappy families, you know, who suffered from this COVID issue, how do you put this into music, and what kind of lyrics you use without making it cheesy, you know, in a way. So it has to be in my direction. It has to be dark, but not too explainable. It's that you say, this is the right thing, this is the wrong thing. So it's this kind of work I really enjoy, you know, to finding the balance.
You mentioned before, and I know you have done stuff from ballet and theater, some soundtracks. You like doing that when someone hire you to do a movie or a ballet or theater that has already done, versus you when you start, you know, they commission you to do and you are restricted in according to the movie and according to the theater, but on your own, right? You can do whatever you want. Nobody tell you, you have an idea in your head and you work on
Yes.
it's good to do both. I mean, when you are limited.
That definitely. So having a theme, you know, and a clear frame always helps to not to jump out of this frame every day. So because otherwise it would absorb so much time, you know. For me, it's good some to write music for other people sometimes, you know. But the people who ask me, can you make music for this or that, they know what I can best, so they want me for what I do. So it's, for me, it's not a big change, you know.
Yeah.
Of course I have to make compromises, that's normal, you know, that's normal. But my I have the biggest fun, and when I just work on my music, I'm just honest, you know.
They already know your type of music, right? So
Yes,
they wouldn't
exactly.
they wouldn't expect
Yes,
something different, right? For that,
yeah. If they would play me typical film music, you know, then I would say there are other people who can do this better, you know. So you don't have to ask me, you know. So but sounds a bit arrogant, but it is. There are some people who can do everything, you know. They make advertising, they make music for films, they make this, and but sometimes you don't hear what is their strengths, and but that's okay as well, you know. If they do this job, and if they're capable of doing anything they've been asked for, that's absolutely okay, you know. But I'm probably not so flexible, you know.
Yeah.
I'm on constant search mode, you know, for I want to get, I don't want to repeat myself. That's very important for me. And the next record has to be different than the record before. That's why I want to do this record with different singers. I want to do songs with that kind of music that I'm doing. Can be really interesting, maybe. You know, it will be dark like always and very emotional. But yeah, so that's my next thing that I want to do, and I need this. That's what I want to say. I need this Herausforderung. I don't know the English word now. Meaning, I need to do something that I haven't done before,
Right.
in
Yeah.
order to learn something, in order to get better.
And get better and be different, right? So, for
Yes.
example, a good example for me would be for Tangerine Dream, for example, right?
Mhm.
They have released so many albums, hundreds, you know, soundtrack and these, and the best stuff was the early stuff, in my opinion,
Mhm.
right? The
Mhm.
early, the first 6, 10 records, right? Then 80s and 90s were doing it also, and everything was the same. All not the same, but not exactly the same, but very, very similar to one another, as if they were getting paid per unit instead of
Yeah. Okay.
quality. You know,
Yes.
maybe out of 100, maybe in my opinion, maybe 20 are great, the other are 80 are terrible.
Mhm.
They were like a machine, as opposed to
Yeah. Or they didn't want to lose their fans, you know. That's
yeah,
the
yeah,
other things, that some people or artists, they don't want to change because the fans might not follow again, you know. I don't know. But that's not for me. It's not the the driving aspect of making music. For me, it's like I want, as I said, I want to do something that I haven't done before, you know.
sure, absolutely. Feel free to
And
elaborate. You collaborated with Electro Jazz Trio, Chat Noir, on
oops, sorry,
how that came together.
sorry.
No problem. No
Hold
problem.
on, sorry. That's I
You
wonder
want
why
me
this
to
is.
you want me to pause the recording? No.
No, no, hold on. It's off now. Sorry.
I was saying, feel free to elaborate on the Electro Jazz Trio, Chat Noir, how
Uh,
that came together, then why you decided to do that kind of stuff.
Giacomo from Rare Noise, he asked me if
Yeah,
I want to produce them, and I thought, yeah, producing I like, um, and it worked out quite well. I don't know if you have listened to it,
yeah,
but
I have, yeah, yeah,
so there were just a couple of moments where I added real music, you know. So because it was all based on their ideas, and yeah, this is absorbing lots of time, you know, producing, because at the end I'm the guy sitting on the mixing desk and mixing it and mastering it and cutting it, and sometimes it's yeah, it's more time than composing a piece of music, you know. The whole production is quite a big job, and next time I think I would invite someone else and say, look, take over part of technical issues, and I focus on helping the band, you know, or helping the project to make a piece better, for example, you know.
yeah.
I think that's the job for producer, you know, to support as well the band, you know.
A lot of work, put in,
It is, yes.
producing, mixing,
Yeah.
as opposed to that. Maybe it should be the job for like a sound engineer, right? You stay on the
Yes.
musician, right? Then
Yes.
somebody else's job to finish it up,
Yes. Yeah.
because then you. And then let's go now back to your latest album with Markus Reuter that was obviously was on the show a couple of weeks ago. The name of the album is hard for me to pronounce it in German, but I think the meaning is called Departure or
No,
Emergence.
it's you could say restart as well.
Yeah,
Or Aufbruch means brechen, like break something.
yeah,
It means Bruch, and Aufbruch is at the same time it is you start a travel. You start a travel into another territory, for example. It's a
like a train that is kind of stopped
yeah,
for a while and then go
but
into a different direction.
yeah, but you move in a direction where you don't know what will happen.
Yeah,
So Aufbruch means as well is a change. It's as well. It's typical German expressions. There's a it has two meanings, and yeah, for me, the meaning is actually after Neuzeit with Ave Henriksen.
yeah,
When Efschering was falling apart and so this is, you can see it as part two. So now the disaster is over. Now we have to start again. So that's the Aufbruch as well. But I must say that the music wasn't inspired by the title of the records. So because we did the music already before COVID, so it just felt like this could fit. But it was one of the few moments in the studio with Markus where I actually didn't have any concept. We just wanted to meet. He brought his gear into my studio, and we started making music. Without thinking what we want to do. And it was one day the main material was developed in 5 hours maybe, and we had a little break. We ate something in my studio and then got back, and then we started talking about what could we do now, and then we didn't talk, we just played again. So there was 2 halves in one day where the basic music was developed, and that was fun. He's so open, he is so creative. He came with a piece of equipment that he hasn't used yet, so he used the time in my studio to take to check out this piece of
yeah. These are very. I have listened to the album like 3 times already, and
okay.
and I, of course I like Marcus, a very good person too. I like his chemistry too. I like you say before. You need to like the person you want to work. Otherwise, he can be the best musician in the world, but if there's no chemistry or rapport between, it's not going to work. Yeah, he's a
Yes,
very good person too, and I like the music, man. It's very very good, very very good album.
yes,
Man.
yes,
I like the quote that Brian you have on your website from Brian Eno say, when Brian Eno is talking about music, he's saying quote. Sometimes you hear something and think, now this is how the modern world feels to me. Like a chaos. Like the end of the world in many ways. When
yeah,
some,
and the
right?
positive things as well,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
technique and development and living in a city, and I, so he meant so that's where the title "Drawn from Life" came from as well. It wasn't like a very experimental uh, concept. It
yeah,
was taken from life, it's with all the emotions, so I think that's what Brian meant. Sorry, I need.
Sure.
I have a piece of water because I ate so much garlic. Sorry.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very, very good album. I really like it. So when you mentioned before about touring live and doing any gigs, you prefer not to go to that route? I mean, it's to be your music. You would say that it's more to be listen like at home or in a movie in a theater, as opposed to you going with some people and do a gig in London, a gig in Germany, and here you're more studio person. Would you say that alive?
I am, because and Brian is the same. So we found out when we did all these concerts, we thought, we were looking at each other and saying, Jesus, we could have spent so much time in the studio and doing something new, creating something new. And now we are sitting here. And so the decision was, which is very luxury issue, I must say, because it was all depending, of course, on his name. Yeah, I wouldn't get these concerts 20 years ago. Everybody wanted to see Brian Eno on stage after his last concert with Roxy Music, I think, 25 years before. So we didn't do any concerts.
Yeah. Yeah, some people prefer that, going and the type of music, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's more applicable for someone at home or watching a movie or
yeah,
as opposed to rock that you want to see live playing the music. You're more your music, you're more industrialized or more for a quiet setting, right? As opposed to a live audience. And for me, that is great, but I always like to listen bands live perform.
Yes, I totally understand.
It's not the same, right? So like the difference between having a book in a PDF or opening the book, right? Or
yes.
listen to a concert in YouTube or going to see some, it's are two different things.
I enjoy it, but the problem with my music is, if I would do like 20 or 30 concerts a year, then it would be worth preparing the shows. And
right. It's expensive, to put
it exactly. But if I'm always invited for one concert, and then I start preparing this, and then I think, Jesus, it's absorbing so much time to prepare this, and then I have to select the musicians and have to make introductions. Look, this piece, can you do this? I have to prepare the scores, and this only makes sense when it's paid well, to be honest.
Otherwise it's not, right? Yeah.
Or I have a management that takes care of concerts and says, look, I get you 15 concerts for next year's between May and August, and then I say, yeah, that makes sense, and makes fun. This is what I have to say. We had lots of preparing time, Brian and me and the bands. We really did like lots of preparation and was paid well, and we played in Italy and Spain, and was fun, really. And Fuji Festival in Tokyo, outside Tokyo, was amazing, really. It's the whole atmosphere and meeting all the other artists, everybody. It was so much fun. It was good.
Yeah, I was thinking that. In Japan, I think they would like your kind of music,
They freaked out. They freaked out.
Yeah, I know the Japanese people. Right?
Yes, but there were people in front of the stage. They were crying. It was, and it was the last concert of a 3-day festival. And so there was Eminem, the rapper, playing, and he stopped the concert at some point, and then everybody came to our concert. You know, it was about 15,000 people, I think. You know, and we did the last concert of the festival in late evening. You know, in the summer. It was really amazing. It was such a nice. Yeah, and then we spent together 4 days in Tokyo as well to have for some holidays, and everything was really, really funny. But it's good that we did a break there. So we did 5 or maybe 8 concerts around the world, not America, but like Asia and Europe, and but it was good. But then I couldn't imagine doing this again and again and again, and he wouldn't be up for it. For him, it was a good trip as well, you know.
Was half that stuff was captured like on a Blu-ray, DVD, or not? Or it wasn't? It wasn't.
That's the problem, because it was the time. It was 2001, you know, and now everybody has the phones, and you know, so there's so much. There was a film team with 4 cameras, and I forgot the name. I forgot. I don't have a copy, you know. But I didn't think of asking Brian as well, you know, because Jesus, it's 20 years ago, and might be interesting in 10 years, but again, you know, if somebody will have a copy, and sometimes somebody will show it, maybe, you know, but I don't have the copy, and as I said, I prefer making music, you know.
Gotcha. Maybe one day, the Japanese people are so meticulous and so organized. So I'm quite sure that stuff was recorded and it's somewhere in a bookstore or in a factory, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And the Japanese people are very organized in everything.
Yes, absolutely. There was the whole organization was so perfect. It's amazing, really. We had like 15 or 20 people helping us with equipment, building up and building down, and it was great. And the funny thing is, as I said, they go crazy for music, you know. So they're so controlled, you know. They didn't throw their cigarettes on the floor, you know. They had this little Aschenbecher where they put the cigarettes in. They were standing in a row for the toilets and very calm. But when they came to the concert, as I said, they freaked out completely, dancing and screaming.
Yeah. I have only 2 more questions, and so you have played with a lot of different people, Jan, and you have the opportunity to play one of the best musicians in the world. Is any or 2 one in particular you wish you have the opportunity to work with? If somebody were to ask you, man, would you like to collaborate with? In a particular, is a couple names that come your way that you think?
Good question. I mean, actually, the band Sonar, you know, they did records with David. David Thorne. Yeah, the guitar player.
David Thorne. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think I saw him with Sonar, and that would be interesting, because he has this amazing sound, really. Hold on, I do something. But sorry, I right now, probably when we finish the interview, I will get some names in my brain, and you want to do, but now I no, I don't.
Maybe
think of some.
Maybe Sakamoto in Japan. We think.
Yes, but and I had contact with him. I told you about that, and about his management. That would be interesting as a duo, of course, but he did this before already a couple of times with electronic musicians and here piano, and so it wouldn't be something really new in a way, you know. I think more about like a string quartet or a little orchestra, you know. It doesn't depend on names or solo musicians. It's more like who would pay for it, you know, to produce it. A choir would be nice. That's this kind of, that would be something.
Or any on the since you have done stuff for theater and then film, any maybe any director that would like to compose music for, like I don't know, Werner Herzog in, in Germany or something.
I would love to do more film music anyway. No, this is really something I enjoy so much. And I would be happy if there would be more like this, to be honest. But it's market, you know, where people, it's the only market where you can earn money, you know, actually. It's film, you know, or games. You know, I do a computer game with a 6 people team, and fortunately, the game likes the music that I do, so I don't have to change so a lot, you know. And this is well paid as well, I must say. Games is a secure market for the next 10-20 years, I think. Yeah,
it's more game are released every month, every day.
Yeah, and it can't be copied, you know. You can't, it's not like music. You can copy it and you don't buy it, you know. But games, you have to buy, you know. And it costs like 80 euros, or 100 euros, and they earn more money than Hollywood, you know, and the film industry.
The game industry? Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Everybody is doing games, you know.
Yeah. Well, it was very, very nice talking to you, man. I love your music. Keep on working hard. Keep on going after all ideas that you have in your head, and go for it, man. It's a lot of, we wanna, you know, listen more of your stuff, and the collaboration with Markus or with Brian Eno, with other people that will come your way. And hopefully I will meet you one day. I'm going to be, I think, in your country the first week of October, hopefully, you know.
To Germany.
Yeah. Actually, well, for 2 reasons, right? So all these people that have interviewed, they have invited me. So I'm going to go to Munich, Berlin, and then Frankfurt. To some musicians I have interviewed. You like the guy, you know, from Tommy Belser from Peacock, and Michael Bruckner, and then a couple people from Tangerine Dream. And then a couple, some folks from used to be in the Popol Vuh band, now with a Mold Duel, and so I will ping you, and then we can get together for dinner or something.
Yeah, of course. Just get in touch with me whenever you know when you're ready.
I will let you know in advance. And
yes, great.
And definitely I want to send you a different email, because I'm interested in, as I mentioned to you, for interview number 100, I would like to bring like a good name, you know. So
yeah,
you can put me in touch with some people. Hopefully it will work out. Right?
Yes. Maybe Brian will do it. But I can't speak for him, because he's very busy, and but he's doing interviews. You know, he's a great guy.
No, he's a very good person. Yeah. And I say, well, and definitely I want to buy your music too. So I will send you a different email. Thank you very much for your time, Peter. Have a great day, and you know, keep on releasing good stuff, man.
Thank you, and thanks for this interview. It was fun for me.
No problem. Take it easy. Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.